On December 25, 2020, one of the leading collectors of 19th and early 20th century printing material, Dave Peat of Indianapolis, Indiana, died at the age of 88. Dave was an iconic and indefatigable collector of decorative and Victorian metal printing type specimen books, trade magazines, ephemera, artifacts, anything related to printing. The International Printing Museum in Carson, California, has just acquired Dave's truly spectacular collection. I'm Mark Barbour, the director and curator of the International Printing Museum, and fortunate to have counted Dave as a friend for nearly 30 years. I want to take you on a final tour of Peat's Press, Dave's collection and shop here at his home in Indianapolis, before it gets packed up. It's December 2021, and you will experience the intensity of Dave as a collector. Nearly the entire house is filled with printing treasures. Dave, as I mentioned, was the foremost collector of 19th century type specimen books, printing materials. And this is how you pack a lot of material into a house. Every box is a font of type, tightly packed. Every inch of space is used. Galleys full of type and ornaments. He shoved things into every corner that you could look, hanging things from the walls, the ceiling. Wood type hanging from the ceiling. A modern telephone. There's absolutely no open flat spaces. And quite a few rare printing presses. Cincinnati hand press. Oh, and here's a rare and unusual typecase called the Perfection case. This is one of Dave's personal treasures and a very rare case, I might add. The challenge we'll have is getting all of this stuff back into boxes, packing up the type, loose items everywhere. We've already spent 2 days trying to clean it up a little bit, and this is what it looks like after it's been cleaned. Boxes and boxes of cuts, type, thousands of cuts. I'm not exactly sure how many fonts of wood type he had, but it's probably closer to 1,000. This cabinet is actually one of his early acquisitions in the early 1960s. Filled with beautiful wood type. And wood type all over here in these boxes, initials, and everything is stacked. Original boxes that the presses came in. He collected small toy presses as well. I think there's close to 200 in the collection. He packed them into this cabinet, which was a turn-of-the-century cigar cabinet. I haven't begun to go through all these, but the boxes alone are often rarer than the press themselves. And those labels are on them. Gems everywhere you look. His early forms announcing his press. Oh, and printer's pie everywhere you look. You can imagine trying to work in the shop, having to crawl over everything just to do your printing and find things. He would clean up the shop and then he would disorganize it again. Boxes and boxes of cuts. Here's his paper cutter. Dave loved to use paper. Any paper he could find. Free paper, donated paper, used paper. And he would use that paper on his iconic annual calendars. They were printed on half-size sheets of paper. And he used those calendars to print as many fonts of type as he could. It was his way of creating a one-line specimen book of his collection. This is the type of stuff I have to pack up and pick up off the ground and everywhere else. And this is the press that Dave used for those calendars. His favorite press is Improved No. 11 Pearl. Press has over 1 million impressions on it. When he got the press in the early 60s, the bed of the press was cracked. But Dave understood the correct way of welding old cast iron, which is a very complicated process and often not successful. There's Dave. He started his press shop in 1960. Trying to find your printing supplies is always a challenge in Dave's shop. He has a library upstairs that we already boxed up with all the type specimen books, nearly 300 volumes. The ones in his shop down here are just the more average ones. Still rare and beautiful and wonderful to go through. More type, more type, more presses, type, 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 presses. Oh, and pulls. All of us love pulls from the type manufacturers and the cabinet makers. And more type. There's a Ben Franklin cast by the BB&S Type Foundry. It's bookends. Everywhere you turn, it's more type. I don't have an exact count, but it's probably close to 3,500 fonts. Dave would go to swap meets and events of all sorts because he collected in other fields as well. But he'd always bring with him his sign. It's actually one of the treasures in the shop. Those of us who have been around Dave have seen this sign. He would also use his calendars to let people know he was collecting type and type specimen books. Oh, and here's a little gem that I found tucked away with his type. This is what a specimen book looks like for those that are not familiar. This was Dave's very first specimen book that he acquired when he was 13 years old, and it plunged him into his love for Victorian type. He wrote, "The first specimen book I ever bought." Then he proceeded to build the largest collection of type specimen books. This is the one that it started from the Franklin Type Foundry. Dave, he just loved it so much. He never thought he would ever be able to find any type, but those days were long gone. Little did he know. It was the beginning of Dave's disease, as he put it, which had no cure, nor did he ever seek one. Everyone who comes to Dave's house, this is the room they want to go in. Has to be the most amazing printer's restroom. All of his guests, certainly all the printing guests, would line up just to go in here. And they would never come out, as Mary, his wife, would comment on. Printing tools, wooden composing sticks, everything you imagine. I mean, small presses, counters, artifacts, advertising pieces, bindery tools. Oh, and this is what you get to look at when you sit down. These are the wooden patterns for the Kelsey Company for making their presses. And there's one of the treadles for their floor model presses. A complete treasure trove. All of this, the entire collection, including the restroom, will be heading to the International Printing Museum near Los Angeles. We're going to recreate Dave's restroom. So when you come and visit the museum, you too can sit in that chair and enjoy what Dave enjoyed every day of his life. You will not have done this in a while.
Done what? Oh, in the door?
Walked in the door.
Years.
Oh, what do you think?
Oh my
This
goodness.
is the first time Mary's come in from
Wow.
the garden through open doors. What color is your floor?
Well, it's a little bit of everything.
Oh, it's a beautiful green and
Ink
cream.
and,
And look at the shop now.
oh my gosh,
Come
doesn't
on.
look like the same place.
No, it hasn't looked like this in decades.
Wow, you can actually see the presses.
When's the last time you walked through that door?
Oh, probably in 65.
65. This
I
is
don't
Mary
know.
Pete coming into Dave's shop. We're going to honor Dave by bringing the shop back to like a 1965.
Well, he didn't have all this collected yet then.
No, but we're doing
Yeah.
good. Look at this. Watch, we can walk around the aisle here.
Oh, okay. Oh my, there's actually an aisle over here.
Isn't that? Look at that. And there's surfaces we can actually get on them. And if you now look at the case with all the toy presses,
I know.
the wood type. This was his
Yeah.
dream, to be able to actually walk up to it and open up a drawer
Yeah.
and pull out some gem and show somebody. Oh,
Oh, that's really a tiny one.
yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, the cabinet here, this is part of the toy press collection. And so this is, you know all those boxes from eBay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these fit so beautifully in an eBay box, Mary. So you just knew it. More of this kept coming in the house.
Yep.
And oh, these are all the boxes of wood type, some of that. So in front of the door there was the large cabinet, so this whole entrance was completely blocked. And it took a bit to get those doors opened to walk out into the garden. So, and we're heading around to the shop.
Boy, the gals from U of I never recognized this as a...
I know. We're going to get ready to actually print the last thing on Dave's Pearl press.
Wow.
Might make it through there.
Oh yeah.
There we go. So we haven't got this area yet, but we're getting there. So,
Yeah.
all right. Where's your experience here,
Did
Mary?
you see my fancy
Oh yes, this is one of Mary's
curtains
editions.
with the printing presses? I'd never seen it before. My girlfriend in Fort Wayne found the material for me back in '65, but I just leave it up so I don't want to touch it because I want it to stay with the shop.
Yeah. Look at that.
It's very nice.
Okay. Well, Mary, let me come over this way. So we're still working on this side of the shop. We're not fully there yet, but we're getting our surface space in.
Well, there's more of the small presses up there too.
So Joe will show us more small presses. So this is Mary Pete. She has put up with this collection all these years. It's now all heading to the International Printing Museum to have a loving home and to preserve Dave's legacy and make it accessible to everybody. And we owe Mary the biggest thanks for putting up with Dave.
No, it was
And
fun.
It was fun years.
Fun
And,
years.
watching Dave create and then
Yeah.
they
But I
traveling
didn't
around.
quite like all those chicken coops and stuff that had printing type in it.
Yeah, Yeah, you've been in a lot of places, haven't
I've been
you?
in a lot of places. Yeah.
And you've worked on the calendar.
Yeah.
Year
and then
after
when
year.
we were out in Colorado, they wanted us to come for the summer and run that whole printing shop they had.
Wow.
Oh, some millionaire that had that print shop there and ran a newspaper in the summertime, and they wanted us to come do it. That was way back in the 60s.
That was good to say no to some things.
Yeah.
Dave didn't say no
I
to
thought,
a lot of
what
things.
did I get into?
Yeah.
But no, he decided too that it was better if he stayed with his job.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it because he built one of the best collections of 19th century stuff, printing stuff in the country. This is amazing.
And I'm glad he stayed with his job because he got 2 patents for his work he did on the,
the
telephones.
Right. So, very good. All right.
Every place you look, there's type.
Yeah, that is the case. Every little hole. He knew how to make use of spaces, make use of boxes. There wasn't a box that Dave didn't love. Doesn't matter what the
And
shape
he
or
had
the
his
size.
printer's hat right here.
Yeah, this was Dave's
There's his printer's hat.
We can actually he probably never let you wear his printer's hat.
Well, I didn't want to wear his printer's hat.
We'll take that one off. All right. Well, very good. We're gonna share this with all of Dave's friends and stuff. And good. This is a very cold day in March. What do we have? March 11th. We've been at this now 3 or 4 days, just getting it to this level.
And this isn't the books and all that stuff that's upstairs.
And we'll see that on another video. So,
Oh my.
God. And very good.
But it was fun. Got to meet a lot of interesting people.
It was. Yeah. And there's still, this is one of the best hobbies. And the people are just exceptional.
Yeah.
Mostly.
And everybody got along fine together.
Mostly.
Because they had something in common. They all were hobby printers.
And we're all nuts for
or
this
regular
stuff.
printers, yeah.
We all like to dive into the chicken coops and go find the type and the gems. And this is just like on steroids.